An undersea tunnel springs a leak. Joe Biden vetoes a resolution that would put tariffs on Chinese solar panels, and we may finally learn why GoFundMe froze our funds. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. You should be using a VPN like Surfshark to protect yourself whenever you go online. I'll tell you more at the end. Now is not a good time to travel to China. I'm not sure it ever was a good time to travel to China, but especially now. This week, China sentenced an American citizen to life in prison for espionage. Zhang Xinguang Leng was a 78-year-old American citizen who was also a permanent resident of Hong Kong. He was detained roughly 2 years ago in Suzhou, China, under circumstances that aren't known. There aren't a lot of details about his case, including why the Chinese government thinks he's a spy, which is by design, I'm sure. After all, China had a lot of practice nabbing foreigners on trumped-up charges to use as political pawns when it needs them. Like when China detained 2 Canadians on spying charges, only to release them after Chinese Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou was released by Canada. Young's sentence comes with a $72,000 fine and the removal of his political rights, which I didn't know Hong Kongers had anymore. Speaking of Americans in China, former NBA star Dwight Howard triggered Chinese netizens' anger recently for calling Taiwan the C word. That's right, in a promotional video for Taiwan tourism, Howard called Taiwan a country.
Okay, here we go, right? Oh, hello everyone, I'm Dwight Howard, and since I came to Taiwan, I've gained a whole new appreciation of this country.
He added insult to injury by calling Taiwan's leader, who definitely doesn't rule over an independent country, a president, and the building where she works, the president's office.
Are you really sure we can stay for one night at the president's office? Yes, the president's office? So I might even bump into the president herself while going for a late night snack.
Yeah, and the stage includes breakfast and other tasty Taiwanese snacks.
That is crazy. I don't even know if that's legal in my country or not.
That's why Taiwan is a free country.
Okay, I like it.
CNN reported that the hashtag Howard Taiwan Independence became the top trending topic on Weibo on Friday morning and garnered more than 400 million views by that afternoon. That's literally one day after it was posted. The director in this video is Taiwan's vice president, and the video was created to promote a contest for an overnight stay in Taiwan's presidential office building in Taipei. I think if I were to travel to one of the Chinas right now, I'd probably go with Taiwan. A Chinese jail cell would probably be cheaper, but I bet the food in the presidential office suite is way better. Howard has been playing for the Taoyuan Leopards, a professional basketball team based in the city of Taoyuan in Taiwan since last year. He claims he didn't know this commercial would offend anyone and apologized for causing any harm. Now, I find that pretty hard to believe. Because how can you live in Taiwan for almost a year and not know you're not living in a country? Howard also claimed, where I come from, if I say I want to go to the country, it doesn't not mean that place is a country. It's just how we talk. It doesn't not mean that place is a country? Is the double negative intentional? If so, I gotta hand it to you, Dwight Howard. That was smooth. Somehow, given the history of the NBA in China, I doubt it. And after the break, turns out the Chinese Communist Party doesn't have much of a sense of humor. Welcome back. Biden has vetoed a resolution that would have put tariffs back on Chinese solar panels. Last year, the Biden Commerce Department lifted tariffs on solar panels made with Chinese parts as long as they were assembled in Southeast Asia. The tariffs were supposed to be removed for 2 years to support American businesses and workers in the solar industry, who it argued needed access to cheaper solar panel parts in order to build solar projects in America. But in December, the U.S. Trade Court ruled that several Chinese companies were trying to evade tariffs by routing their solar panels through Southeast Asia. And here I thought Chinese companies always played fair. The vetoed resolution would have punished China by reinstating tariffs, but Biden says that it would have hurt the solar industry in America. Biden claims that 51 new American solar makers have gone into business since 2021, and that in order to give them time to meet U.S. demand, he's keeping the tariffs off to make sure the rest of the American solar industry has enough supply. Now that may sound logical, but here's why it's not a good move. First, the U.S. first put tariffs on Chinese solar panels back in 2018 because China was flooding the market with them. China introduced tons of cheap solar panels below market rates because manufacturers there were getting subsidies from the Chinese government. All those subsidies made it impossible to compete, and U.S. manufacturers were going out of business. The EU and India put tariffs on Chinese solar panels for the same reason. The other major problem with Chinese solar panels is that they're made with slave labor, in particular the Uyghur variety. So I sympathize with anyone who has to pay a little more for their American-made solar panels. But if paying a little extra to avoid ethnic slave labor is a problem for you, might I recommend you head over to ChinaUncensored.tv/merchandise and buy one of our lovely I turned a blind eye to ethnic cleansing and all I got was this slightly cheaper t-shirts. Speaking of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, Elon Musk. He's one person who obviously doesn't have a problem with doing business in Xinjiang, because his company Tesla opened a showroom there in January of 2022. Musk was asked on Tuesday if he cared what shareholders and advertisers thought about his sometimes controversial tweets. Here's what he had to say.
You know, I'm reminded of the scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money, offer me power, I don't care.
So you just don't care? You want to share what you have to say?
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay, Musk, so if you really don't care, why don't you ever tweet anything critical of China, huh? Seriously, we looked through all your tweets that mention China, and there's hardly anything that could even be interpreted as critical. He's even shared Chinese propaganda about how China has eliminated absolute poverty, which it hasn't, and then talked about the economic prosperity that China has achieved. First of all, the Chinese Communist Party didn't lift anyone out of poverty. It just changed the definition of poverty so that it could claim that. Second, as recently as 2020, China's premier said that over 40% of Chinese were living on less than $5 a day. I would hardly call that an economically prosperous country. He's also said Taiwan should become a special administrative region of China. State-run media loved that one. So Musk isn't afraid to tweet anything except when it comes to China. But as nice as Musk has been to China, he still has gotten in China's crosshairs for a tweet he wrote. He commented on this tweet, which said, Dr. Anthony Fauci funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab, lied to Congress about it, and now both the FBI and the Department of Energy have concluded that the coronavirus originated at the Wuhan lab. Does that mean Dr. Anthony Fauci funded the development of COVID-19? Musk responded that he did it via a pass-through organization, EcoHealth, which is short for EcoHealth Alliance. That was enough for my favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, to go after him, claiming he was supporting the lab leak theory and implying that his business in China was at risk. In social media posts, the author asked if Musk was smashing China's pot, which is another way of saying biting the hand that feeds him. Elon wouldn't want to risk that new Tesla factory, right? But I'm sure Musk didn't think that criticizing Fauci was a dig at the CCP. Unless... Have you ever seen Fauci and Xi Jinping in the same room together? Speaking of offending the party, a Chinese comedy troupe was hit with a $2 million penalty for making jokes about China's military. In a notice about the fine, the Beijing Cultural and Tourism Regulator said the company and actor Li Haoshi wantonly tampered with the pre-approved content of the performance, and that there was humiliating material against the People's Liberation Army, causing very bad social effects. Ah yes, the crime of causing very bad social effects. Gotta love communism. We don't know what exactly the comedian said, but reports on China's social media said Li had made fun of a popular PLA slogan about winning battles, comparing it to two dogs chasing a squirrel. I'm sure it was a real zinger. And after the break, our little run-in with GoFundMe may be getting a proper investigation. Welcome back. When it opened earlier this month, the Dalian Bay Tunnel was hailed as a testament to Chinese engineering. It was 6 lanes wide, 3 miles long, and according to one engineer, created a number of records in the field of cross-sea immersed tunnel construction. This Chinese state media reporter got to test it out on the first day it opened.
Now, the completion of the Dalian Bay Undersea Tunnel can be seen as a showcase to other countries around the world, and especially for the countries within the Belt and Road Initiative, in the Southeast Asia.
Don't get too excited yet, tunnel company. Here it is less than a month later. Officials said it was a burst pipe. Reminds me of back in 2021, when massive flooding did this to a subway in China. 12 people died. You know, I used to have this big irrational fear of getting trapped in an elevator, but now I think my biggest fear is being in an underwater tunnel made by a Chinese company. And finally, is GoFundMe's day of reckoning coming? I sure hope so. As you may remember, we started a GoFundMe campaign for a former provincial leader from Solomon Islands named Daniel Stani. Thanks to all of our wonderful fans, we were able to fully fund a trip to D.C. for Sudani and even help him out with his legal expenses in several lawsuits. We, and by we I mean you, reached our goal in less than 24 hours. And so we closed the campaign and started the process of transferring the money to Sudani. However, GoFundMe froze it and never gave us a full explanation of why. Though after we told them we were talking to the media and testifying about it before Congress, guess what? They magically released the funds. But it gets even better. Last week, Congressman Chris Smith said he may open an investigation into GoFundMe for not releasing the funds like it should have.
I just would note that Daniel Sudani from the Solomon Islands has just come in, and welcome. He briefed the CECC a couple of weeks ago on the long arm of China's transnational repression in his Pacific Island nation. Disturbingly, his GoFundMe account to pay for his trip to warn Congress and the American people was blocked until word got out that he would be appearing before the CECC. Nonetheless, we are going to look at why GoFundMe would freeze his account, hopefully without having to use our subpoena authority, which we will use if they don't cooperate.
So who knows? Maybe someday we'll all know what was really going on. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, everything you do is being tracked and logged by the website you visit and your internet service provider, in many cases by the government. And if you're in an authoritarian country like China or Russia, this kind of tracking can put you at risk of surveillance and even arrest. Citizens like you and me are being monitored constantly. And that's why you should always be keeping your internet activity private by using a VPN, like Surfshark. Surfshark secures your data with top-of-the-line uncrackable encryption. And on top of that, Surfshark intentionally does not keep logs of what you do. In fact, one cool thing it does is keep a server network in the British Virgin Islands, where local laws allow Surfshark to not keep user data logs. So if you haven't yet, check out Surfshark. And with just one Surfshark account, you can connect as many devices as you want. So try it out now. Surfshark has a special deal that includes 83% off a 2-year plan, plus 3 extra months for free. You can protect yourself for just $2.21 a month. So go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code uncensored to secure this deal. The link is in the description below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.